Well, a tree fell over. Elon Musk is a trillionaire. It's me, Mark. Again, we need to plant these. This is a Triumph apple tree. I like apple trees. Apples are delicious. But Elon Musk, a guy that has spent his basically entire adult life creating wealth in, let's be honest, some niche areas, mainly technology, software, and development and engineering. But nevertheless, he's made a lot of it. Now, I know some people seem to think that somehow this guy obtained $1 trillion in cash. That's not how wealth works. See, you can have, let's say you have $900 billion in land, and the next day land skyrockets in price, and you gain an extra $100 billion in wealth, and your land, you have your land assessed, and now you're worth $1 trillion because of that price increase in the cost of land. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. Makes sense to me. So Elon Musk spent the majority of his ownership in Tesla, still a majority, either way, of owning Tesla, CEO, founder, and the guy that went and got fundraising for Tesla, not making a dime. That was an agreement with the Tesla investors, is that you can't make any money. Can't collect a paycheck. He's like, that's fine with me. I don't collect a paycheck, I don't pay any taxes. Where people are like, oh, Elon Musk doesn't pay any taxes. Well, if he's collecting dividends, he does. But that's a different tax. That's not income tax. Completely different altogether. Elon Musk, without a doubt, his companies pay taxes. I like this angle better, so I moved the tree in the camera. Don't be scared of trillionaire. I'm a rapper. I like to rhyme. Anyways, there we go. Billionaires, trillionaires, they're going to do their things. Millionaires. What I have a problem with isn't printing money, creating wealth, creating jobs. I don't have a problem with that. Hell, I don't even have a problem really with AI because you and I, we can't do anything about it. You can make all the hate slop you want towards AI and data centers, all you want. You'd have to go to the extreme of things, and you would have to go global on those extremes. And if you don't know what I mean by extreme, jihadists are the extreme of the extremes. You'd have to go that far. And I know it's not worth it to be like that. And I would never go there either. I'm not against compute. I am pro-compute, pro-technology, satellites, infrastructure, wealth. I am very pro that. I believe that people that are anti-tech are the same people that probably killed off their brethren for being like, why don't we put this on a wheel? And it's like, that's witchcraft. Die. Those are the same people that are against compute. Again, I went a little far. My bad. Maybe they're not the same people. But you get what I mean. There is nothing wrong with a stone hammer. I get that. Stone hammers are useful. But a steel hammer, way better. Way better. Back on to Elon Musk. Elon Musk made approximately 4,400 millionaires overnight. Over 100 of the, is it 100 of them? Whatever. A fairly large amount of them were worth over $100 million overnight. And the best part about it is that these were technicians, mechanics, simple engineers. There's some other ones in there. They were blue collar guys, basically. Now, why is that important? When wealth is done correctly, poor people can become rich. When wealth is done incorrectly, totalitarianism becomes rich and everybody else is poor. Yeah, I'm simplifying down to two things as a mind can only focus on two things really at once. In fact, the mind can't even multitask. It's not even possible. Your mind just switches back and forth really quick between multiple tasks. But anyway, a politician making millions of dollars does not help anybody at all. And when they're like, oh, I made my millions writing a book, but I hate the ultra wealthy and anybody that makes more money than me. Who bought your book? Because if it's a #1 bestseller and it sells 1 million copies within a 24-hour period, that's impressive. Harry Potter, in less than 24 hours, sold 1 million copies and everybody knew about it. Everybody globally knows Harry Potter within 24 hours. And yet somehow I don't know the book that Hillary Clinton wrote. I don't know the book that Bernie Sanders wrote. I have no clue the title at all. But somehow when I was a kid, I knew what Harry Potter was. Like, as a kid who literally doesn't have an attention span much further than a goldfish. Sorry, I'm ranting too hard. People are upset about Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire. Which, by the way, it's not a trillion in cash. It's not $1 trillion in sales that he made selling a book that he has cash in. No. He made $1 trillion, making some of the greatest deals in human. The Tesla deal is wild to think. Oh yeah, you're gonna give me $600 billion at the end of the deal, right? And they're like, yeah, sure. If you can get the stock to this price for this long and make us this much money, we'll give you $600 billion in stocks back. It's like, what? You'll give me all my stocks back? Stock exchange? Yeah. I don't know the entirety of the deal. Please forgive me. Fix it in the comments if you really want. The SpaceX IPO, I didn't want SpaceX to go public. I still don't want them to be public. I believe in non-public corporations doing the best they can for their employees and their country. And their family if they got it, obviously. The executives should be working for themselves, too. I truly believe that. No great man, where was I going with that one? No great man never once wasn't selfish. All great men were selfish at some point, and that's why they're great. Socrates was an arrogant asshole. Oh, I don't know him, but apparently he was. That's why he didn't believe in writing anything down. He was so stuck in his own mentality that he think that, no, all knowledge should be passed down verbally. Like that hasn't been an issue for entire swaths of nations and continents. Dude, you had to walk south for 1,000 miles and he would have saw the issue with that. 3,000 miles, my bad. Anyways, moving back to the point. I truly believe in space travel. I truly believe in colonizing other planets. I truly believe in mining asteroids. I truly believe in the exploration and the further going beyond the human limitation. I'm going to really like this rock, like a lot. Anyways, whether or not you think Elon Musk is a bad man or a terrible human being, you can't neglect the fact that he wrote some of the first code for online banking that he sold. Used that money to make PayPal, which in return made it super easy to bid on stuff on eBay. eBay and PayPal created a relationship. He sold PayPal. He bought X. Oh, Tesla, X, SpaceX, all that stuff. We're not going chronologically here. We were, but because I can't remember all the orders of everything and I refuse to create a script because I think scripts they're good, they're great. But some of the best scenes in movies, let's be honest here, are off script. Entertainment off script stuff is phenomenal. It gives it character. Anyways, Elon Musk created wealth. He hired employees. I'm not a fan of his H1B ideas. I'm not a fan of fully battery operated cars. Electric motors, far superior to the modern drivetrain with the axles and the rear hub assemblies and going out to the wheels. I'm not a mechanic. Why am I acting like I know what I'm talking about? Either way, transmissions with an engine over the top, terribly inefficient compared to electric motors. Maybe not terribly because they have gotten really good. But it's a lot of moving parts compared to having electricity going to an electric motor that's directly on the wheel. Super efficient that way. The issue was, how do you power that? And it's not like these electric generators haven't existed and we haven't not put them direct to the wheel. There's massive mining dump trucks that are diesel over electric. So a diesel generator over electric motors. And there might be a battery pack somewhere in there for efficiency reasons or something. But for as far as I know, multi-story house-sized truck with a diesel generator over electric motors has existed since the early 2000s. Don't quote me on that. I'm just giving some framework here, how important electric motors have been in the automobile and just in industry altogether. We have been slowed by this refusal to go with an electric motor when we know, and Tesla electric motors aren't some magical great engineering that is impossible and is new technology. No, I can't remember what electric motor that they kind of copied and replicated and improved on. They made it super efficient, but it doesn't change the fact that those electric motors have been around forever. I shouldn't say forever, for a long time. And there's without a doubt that Elon Musk is very good at selecting specific people for specific jobs. That's hard to do, extremely hard to do. Anyways, how does that work into homesteading, tactical homesteading, prepping, chicken coop? It doesn't. I just wanted to give you my opinion on financial wealth and the stock market, stuff like that. I'm not a big believer in the stock market. I believe that if you want to get into it, go ahead. Do your thing. Diversify your portfolio. Big believer in having tools, land, a house, stuff that's actually worth money, a decent vehicle. I'm probably one of the only people that I've ever heard that vehicles are great investments. Just the wrong vehicle's a bad investment, and the amount of money you pay, if you're paying $90,000 for a car, I'm sorry, you've got intelligence, and I'm one of them because I spent $70,000 on a pickup truck. Intelligence issue once again. Don't hate somebody because our government prints money like it's going out of style. And by print, I mean they just fabricate it, obviously. And most of it's digital. It's given to JP Morgan at electronic. And if you print money, you make wealth, you create a currency, and you keep adding to the supply, somebody's got to eat it up. If nobody's taking the money, giving it out to multiple people, right? Hear me out. And then those multiple people buy stuff, it's okay to print money because new businesses come along, new innovations come along, and they have to be funded, right? I just think the people that are in control of that are idiots. I hate the Federal Reserve. I I I understand James Madison's idea behind needing some sort of banking system, even though he spent most of his career being like, we don't need a federal bank, a federal note. And then I understand Alexander Hamilton, and I hate saying that because that guy was terrible for this country, why he believed in centralized banking. But what we need to understand is that when an economy becomes stagnant, I know this is weird to think, but numbers must go up or you become stagnant. And I'm not a big believer in that. I understand the thought process and the reason behind the idea of that. If numbers don't go up, you become stagnant and your drop off is much more quick. Where if you're always going up and you have a drop, you can only drop so far, not as bad basically. Basically going up 10% is better than going up 2% because if you have a 3% drop, you didn't really lose much, if that makes sense at all. I'm not a math genius here. What I'm trying to get at is the Federal Reserve, the government, through multiple presidencies in a row, printed money. That money, a lot was printed during COVID. And JP Morgan had basically a bunch of it that he was being regulated to put into circulation, something like that. The Federal Reserve and the private banks work together in this. I think they've got smart people in it, but they got a lot of idiots. And I see it's hard to explain because inflation is dictated by taxes. The more people you have and the more taxes you impose on the people, the more you can control inflation. So the more money you can technically print, the government can print to buy things for itself. It's hard to explain. It really is. And the more stuff the government can buy for itself, the more infrastructure it has to build. The more infrastructure it has to build, the more people they have to pay, the more citizens they have to pay. The issue is that we're not paying our citizens anymore. We're importing people to work for us, legally and illegally. That's a huge issue. I don't think the Fed Reserve accounted for how many illegal immigrants are collecting as a whole millions of dollars. I don't think the government accounted for the amount of fraud that occurred. And it's not the poor people that feel that. Well, I guess it is the poor people because they made the middle class the poor people. But it's the middle class that feel it. The people that don't qualify for government aid. The people that don't qualify for charity. These are the people that feel it the most. And eventually the middle class shrinks. And it's not that there's less. You gotta remember, when the middle class shrinks, it's not that they're becoming not middle class, not like they're going up the ladder, they go down the ladder. So millions of people go from middle class, living fine, living an all right life to poor and having to go on government assistance. Government assistance actually helps inflation too. I mean, I could go on and on about the complexity of how debt, U.S. debt is a global currency. This video would go on forever because I can literally talk about it forever. And trying to explain it in the most simplest terms as possible. We live in a debt's not bad. Bad debt's bad. Good debt's fine. What's good debt? I think I said this in another video. Debt is owing somebody something and being able to pay them back. This is a great example. Your neighbor comes to you being like, I need help with something. And you're like, I ain't got time right now. How about tomorrow? And they're like, yes, tomorrow. How long do you need me for? Need you for 4 hours. All right, I'll be there. You go and help your neighbors for 4 hours. What is your neighbor now obligated? Whether you tell him to or not, he's indebted to you, right? He has a debt to you. He owes you 4 hours now. Or money or something, right? A trade. He needs to trade something. And he says, hey, man, I ain't got much money to pay you. And you know this because your neighbor. Like, hey, if I need a hand with something, I'll let you know. And he's like, he nods his head. He says, yeah, perfect deal. Shake hands, you move on. That's good debt. That's pretty good debt to have. That builds community. It builds good relationships and neighbors. Bad debt is getting debt and not having the assets to pay it back. And that could be credit card, financial notes, financial contracts, stuff like that. Not having the assets to pay them back is terrible debt. But not all debt is bad. You have to look at debt as a broader, like we've been doing for tens of thousands of years. Look here. There are some things that you can change in your life. There is almost nothing you can change globally. You can't change climate change. You can't change somebody going from $900 billion to $1 trillion. You cannot stop that. You do not have the power. I don't have the power. I don't care who you are. You probably don't have the power if you're watching this video. There are lots of things you can change in your world. You can get chickens. You can make it a little bit. It's actually not cheap building a homestead, but it done right. You can become a little more self-efficient, self-reliant. You can have your own food from your own land. Well, how do we get land? I don't know what to tell you on that. If you didn't get into it before 2019, probably gonna have a rough time. And that's just the honesty. The generations after the millennials, you think the millennials are screwed? X, Alpha, whatever the next generations are, you guys got it rough. If we do not figure out how to spread out, and it's not like you can just give the money out to people, right? Because you need money to go to certain sectors, right? You can't have all the money going to McDonald's. That's terrible. So you give out stimulus checks and everybody buys $600 worth of McDonald's. That doesn't help. Even paying your rent with that $600 doesn't help any. A strategic offload of currency is actually best done by making somebody a trillionaire, in my opinion. Once again, somebody with better economics and math skills than me will probably see this and be like, no, you're wrong. Be like, and they'll go on a tirade in the comments being like, this is why you're wrong. But nevertheless, if you print money, which you have to print money, right? Because more people exist, you import more people, more companies exist. So there needs to be more wealth to pay the employees for those companies. So you actually do have to print some amount of money at some point in time. You can't, if America started with $100 in 1776, and so there was only $100 in the market, we would die. We would never made it this far. So you have to print money, you have to have a currency, blah blah blah. Well, we should be using gold and silver. Issue with that is that once you run out of the gold and silver, copper, what do you go to? Conquering other nations for their gold and silver. Right? And I'm a big believer in metals. All the way from gold to steel to aluminum. Having that physically in your possession is very valuable. But in order for a country to have a metal standard, a gold standard, unless you are buying other people's gold and reserving it for your own currency, the only other way to get it is either extract it out of the ground, which once you run out of extraction, you've got to do what? Now, oh, yeah, you can mine asteroids. Sure, you can. Or hear me out, you can unfortunately make a centralized currency for your country, which I've argued that state-ran centralized currency is better, especially with modern technology. Either way, you need a currency for your country, right? You need to be able to print that money, but you also need to be able to create the business. The business is to distribute that. Man, I've gone on too long. But you get what I'm saying, I hope. I barely understand what I'm saying. How are you supposed to understand? Anyway, comment, like, subscribe. Continue on with bettering yourself, being an individual, focus on your family, friends, neighbor, and country. And I guarantee you, if you do that, maybe some of that stress about the global world falling apart might go away.